I, 26-year-old man, have been dating my fiancée Vivian, 28-year-old woman, for 5 years, and we found out she was pregnant shortly after I proposed. We were both ecstatic about it, even though it wasn't planned. Vivian's parents were a bit upset that I got their daughter pregnant without being married to her, but having a wedding during her pregnancy seemed to calm them. They're Christians, but not the evangelical types who shove religion down people's throat. She's currently 13 weeks pregnant, and 4 days ago, I had gotten off work, so I immediately headed home to our apartment. I saw her best friend, Carly, 29-year-old woman, sitting on the couch looking upset, which is unlike her, so I asked if everything was okay and where Vivian was. Carly told me that she was in our main bathroom, so I headed over to it and noticed that Carly was following me, which I think was a little strange but brushed off. I knocked on the door and asked if I could come in, which Vivian said yes to, so I opened the door and saw my fiancée standing over the toilet with tears in her eyes when she looked at me. I immediately asked her what was wrong, and Vivian sniffled and told me that she miscarried, gesturing for me to look inside the toilet. I looked inside and the water was reddish, and there was a lump that looked like it was a fetus with a stray piece of bloody tissue sort of covering it. I averted my eyes after I saw it and then started crying. I was genuinely sobbing, which I haven't done since Vivian revealed that she was pregnant, but those were tears of joy. I grabbed my fiancée and hugged her tight while crying into her shoulder. Eventually, I looked up and saw in the bathroom mirror that Carly was standing in the doorway with her phone out like she was recording something or taking pictures. I let go of Vivian and asked Carly what the hell she was doing. Carly stammered and was going, while looking for an excuse. Eventually, my fiancé fessed up and admitted that she didn't actually have a marriage and that it was a test to see how I would react if she actually lost our baby. I essentially short-circuited, unable to comprehend how the hell Vivian and Carly, despite us not being as close, could do something so outlandishly cruel to me. I snapped out of it when Vivian attempted to touch my cheek and pushed her hands away. I didn't want to be near her or have her touch me at that moment. Carly and Vivian tried to stop me from leaving the bathroom, but I pushed past them so I could go to our bedroom. I haphazardly packed some clothes into an old bag and headed straight for the door after grabbing my keys. Vivian caught up with me at the door and tried to plead with me to stay and talk about what happened. But I told her I needed time away from her to process what happened. She didn't push for me to stay after that, but seemed disappointed about it. I ended up staying with a buddy of mine, Josh, 26-year-old man, who told me that I could stay as long as I wanted once I told him what happened and commented on how fricked up that was for Vivian to do to me. I'll admit I was being childish and dodged Vivian's texts and calls, except for letting her know that I was safe over the next 2 days. Once I felt stable enough, I invited Vivian to talk. I won't get into everything we talked about, but the reason why Vivian decided to test me was that she was afraid that I didn't actually want the baby and was only caring for them because I had to in order to not be seen as a deadbeat. I said that I understood her fears, but I legitimately wanted to be a father to our baby. I ultimately decided to stay with Vivian, but on the condition that we postpone the wedding until after the baby was born, and we did couples counseling. Vivian said, okay, and left my friend's apartment. I honestly assumed that was that, and I was going to go home soon after that. Boy, was I wrong. An hour after Vivian left, I got messages from Carly harassing me about forcing Vivian to have a baby out of wedlock, since I know that's not what her parents want, while insulting me. It got so intense that I eventually blocked her. Honestly, I just want some unbiased outsider perspective on this. Am I the idiot for giving this condition to my fiancé? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. What an absolute psycho. Red flag o'clock. Her comfort with manipulating others, especially around a sensitive topic like losing a baby, is extremely disturbing. Perhaps have your friend call her and tell her you were in a car accident and didn't survive. Then show up a few hours later yelling, "Prank bro, just testing," and ask her how it felt. Edit. The suggestion was only meant to illustrate a point, as no sane person would actually do that. Comment 2. Why are you still with this person? There is absolutely no reason for her and her friend to have done that. None. Trust completely shattered. That is some twisted mental gymnastics they pulled off there. Holy batshit, Batman. Run. Run far, far away. Like WTF, I am so damn stunned by this story. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a chaotic 3 months since then, and a lot has happened. After I blocked Carly, things seemed to calm down for a bit. Vivian and I started couples counseling, which was tough but necessary. We were making progress, slowly unpacking the layers of mistrust and hurt. It was during one of these sessions that Vivian dropped a bombshell. She admitted that the whole miscarriage setup wasn't just her idea. It was Carly's. Carly had convinced her that this was the only way to truly know if I was committed. I was floored. I knew Carly was involved, but to hear that she was the mastermind, it made me see her in a whole new light. I couldn't believe that someone who had been a part of our lives for so long could be so manipulative. It was a tough pill to swallow, and it made me question everything I thought I knew about her. Meanwhile, Vivian's parents, who had been on edge since the pregnancy news, started to warm up to me again. They saw the effort I was putting into the relationship and the counseling, and it seemed to ease their worries. They even started helping us plan for the baby, which was a huge relief. But just when things were starting to look up, Carly reared her head again. She showed up at our apartment one day, unannounced and uninvited. She was furious, accusing me of turning Vivian against her. The confrontation was intense, with Carly yelling and Vivian trying to calm her down. I stayed out of it, not wanting to make things worse, but it was clear that Carly wasn't going to let this go. The next few weeks were a roller coaster. Carly started spreading rumors about me to our mutual friends, painting me as the bad guy who had manipulated Vivian into staying with me. It was a mess, and it put a strain on our relationship. Vivian was torn between her loyalty to her best friend and her love for me. Despite all this, Vivian and I continued to work on our relationship. We were determined to get through this together. The counseling was helping, and we were starting to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. Then, out of nowhere, Carly apologized. She came over one evening, tears in her eyes, and asked for forgiveness. She said she had been going through a rough time and took it out on us. It was a shock, to say the least. Vivian was quick to forgive her, but I was more hesitant. I accepted her apology, but I couldn't just forget everything that had happened. Things were finally starting to settle down when we got another surprise. Vivian went into labor early. It was a frantic rush to the hospital, and I was a bundle of nerves the entire time. After what felt like an eternity, our baby was born, a beautiful little girl. Holding her for the first time was an indescribable feeling. It was a moment of pure joy, but it was also bittersweet. The birth of our daughter brought a lot of emotions to the surface. I was overjoyed to be a father, but I was also reminded of the fake miscarriage and all the pain that had come with it. It was a reminder of how fragile our relationship had been and how much work we still had to do. Vivian and I are still together, and we're doing our best to be good parents to our daughter. We're still in counseling, and it's helping us navigate this new chapter in our lives. Carly is still around, but things are different now. There's a distance between us that wasn't there before. My GF tricks me into fatherhood, but brother knew and said nothing. So when paternity test reveals baby isn't mine, I feel betrayed and relieved while she's left to face the music alone. I, 25-year-old male, have been with my girlfriend, 25-year-old female, for 7 years. A few years ago, we discussed having children, and I made it vehemently clear that I did not want any at all. She did not necessarily share my sentiments, but said she understood and she was just happy to be with me. We use condoms, and I know for a fact she was on birth control. So you can imagine my shock when she came to me with multiple pregnancy tests a few days ago, happily proclaiming that she's pregnant. I asked her what she was talking about. She then admitted that she had been thinking about kids again, and the thought of having my child brought her so much joy that a few months ago, she stopped taking her birth control pills and began poking holes in the condoms. I was completely taken aback, and for a few moments sat in silence. She asked me if I was happy, and I responded, "I'm done with you. Don't call, don't text, nothing." I told her to get out, and she left my house, sobbing. I guess she went to my mom, because about an hour later, I got an angry call from her. She asked how the hell I could treat my pregnant girlfriend like that, and when I tried to explain that she'd betrayed my trust, she dismissed me. I've been getting angry messages as well from my girlfriend's friends and family, and even a few family members. My brother and sister are the only ones on my side. I've been reflecting and wondering if I was wrong for what I did. So am I the idiot? Edit. I have read some comments and have a few things to say. For those reprimanding me for not getting a vasectomy, I am a university graduate with student loans. I cannot afford a vasectomy. Furthermore, I had been with her since I was 17, and I trusted her. I did not even think about a vasectomy because of this. There are some people who think that it's dumb to use condoms and birth control simultaneously. Obviously, you need to have a word with your biology teachers because both contraceptives on their own have a higher chance of failing than when they are used together. I will admit, the relationship should have ended after finding out we had such drastically different views on something as important as children. But again, I was young, in love, and trusting, and I thought we could make it work. Some people believe this post is fake, and I cannot blame them as this is social media where the truth can be manipulated. However, it is still hurtful to see my situation taken for joke and mocked. Thank you to those who have actually helped me understand my situation better and advised me on how to proceed. I will be seeking legal aid and will work on gathering evidence against her case. I will try to better explain the situation to those around me, and if they still refuse to understand, they will be out of my life. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. No, what she did was the equivalent of rap. You are not the jerk. That is the absolutely worst betrayal possible. Worse than cheating. You need to start looking into the laws in your state concerning legally cutting ties with her and the child, so she can't rob you of your hard-earned money for the next 20 years. To hell with her. You need to start protecting yourself now. She proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that you cannot trust her and never should have trusted her in the first place. This is why all of us men who don't want kids need to go get a vasectomy. I get that it is scary as hell, but it is literally the only real form of reproductive autonomy that we actually have available to us, unfortunately. I really wish they had spent more time decades ago focusing on male contraceptive medication. Stories like this are absolutely terrifying. Comment 2. Not the idiot at all. I don't know if you can, but I feel like you should be able to have her arrested for this, or sue her, or something. I'm actually insanely angry reading this. Like you, I have told every girl I've been with since I was in my 20s, 40s now, that I have no desire to have kids or get married. They always say it's not a problem, but deep down, they think that at some point I'll just change my mind. If I were you, I would have done the exact same thing. But now what do you do? Like, wow, I can't even grasp that she did this to you. I just looked it up. I don't know what country you're in. But what she did may be illegal and considered intimacy attack. I saw an article that a woman in Germany did the same thing and was charged with rap and did end up going to jail for it. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a week since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you all. Buckle up, because things have taken some unexpected turns. First off, let me fill you in on some history with my now ex-girlfriend. We met in high school, and she was my first serious relationship. We were the couple everyone thought would last forever. Her family treated me like one of their own, and my mom especially adored her. She was there for me when my dad passed away during our sophomore year of college, and that kind of support isn't something you forget easily. Now, on to the juicy stuff. After the initial shock of her pregnancy announcement and the betrayal, I spent a few days just trying to process everything. I was hurt, angry, and felt utterly betrayed. But then, things got even more complicated. My ex started sending me ultrasound pictures and talking about names. It was like she was living in a different reality where we were still a happy couple excited about a baby. I was still reeling from the betrayal when I got a call from my mom. She was crying, saying she didn't raise me to abandon my responsibilities. I tried to explain to her again that this wasn't about responsibility. It was about trust. She hung up on me. Then, my brother, who had been on my side, dropped a bombshell. He told me that my ex had confided in him a few months back about wanting to have a baby. He thought she was just daydreaming and didn't realize she'd actually go through with it. He apologized for not telling me sooner, but he never thought she'd actually betray me like that. I was floored. My own brother knew about her plans and didn't think to warn me. I felt like I was losing my grip on everything I thought I knew about my life and the people in it. But wait, there's more. My ex's best friend reached out to me. She said she felt guilty for keeping my ex's secret and that she needed to come clean. She told me that my ex had been seeing a fertility specialist to increase her chances of getting pregnant. I couldn't believe it. The level of planning and deception was beyond anything I could have imagined. I was at a loss for what to do next. I decided to meet with my ex to talk things through. It was the most intense conversation I've ever had. She cried, pleaded, and even got angry, saying that I was the one who was wrong for not wanting a family with her. I held my ground, though. I told her that what she did was unforgivable. Now here's the twist. During our conversation, she let it slip that she wasn't sure if the baby was mine. She had a brief fling around the time she would have gotten pregnant. I was stunned into silence. All this drama, and there was a chance the baby wasn't even mine? I demanded a paternity test, and she agreed. The wait for the results was agonizing. I didn't know what I wanted the outcome to be. Part of me hoped the baby was mine, so at least the betrayal had a reason. Another part of me hoped it wasn't, so I could walk away from this mess. The results came in yesterday. The baby isn't mine. I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. Relief that I wasn't tied to her through a child, but sorrow for the baby who was now part of a lie. My ex is devastated. She's lost me, and now she has to figure out how to tell the real father. Her friends and family are shocked, and some have even reached out to apologize for how they treated me. As for me, I'm still processing everything. I've lost the woman I thought I'd spend my life with, but I've also dodged a bullet. I'm not sure how to feel. I'm just taking it one day at a time. My stepson lies about me hitting him, so I take my daughter and leave. But when the truth comes out, wife begs me to return and even considers giving up her kids to win me back. Bit of background. I, 40-year-old male, have been married to my wife, 40-year-old female, for 5 years. She has a 10-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter from her previous marriage, and I have a 7-year-old daughter from my previous marriage. About a month ago, her son accused me of hitting him. I never put my hands on him or anyone. My wife confronted me, and I denied it. She didn't believe me. After the argument, I went to cool off and talk to my friend. He was worried, very worried, and said that I should get out of the house with my daughter. He said that I am a man and no one is going to believe me, and I could lose my daughter if things escalate. I finally understood the gravity of the situation I am in. After a long walk, I made up my mind. I went to my house and asked my wife to come talk to me. I said that I never hit him. I don't know why he said it, and I don't want to know anymore. I told her that I am not feeling safe in this house, and I don't want to risk my future and my daughter's future. I told her I understand her mama bear mindset, so I won't blame her for not believing me, but the last place I want to be is anywhere near a mama bear. I packed my bags and my daughter's bag, and we went to my parents' house. I refused to take her calls and asked her to only contact me through messages, since it's not legal in my state to record without consent of both parties. Her messages ranged from blaming me to blaming herself and wanting to talk in person. 3 weeks later, she messaged me and told me that she believes me. When I left, she actually started to question her son's accusations, and obvious inconsistencies started to emerge. She realized that her son is full of shit. She apologized profusely and begged me to come back. I refused, and I told her that I can't risk it anymore. I don't trust her children, and I don't trust her to believe me. I can't risk it. She asked me what I want her to do, give up her kids' custody, and I said, honestly, I do love her, and I do want to stay with her, but I can't risk it to be with her anymore if her kids are staying with us. I told her I am sorry and I don't expect her to leave her kids, so I think it's best if we move forward with separation. Turns out she is actually considering giving up the custody of her kids. Her ex-husband called me and asked me why his ex-wife is talking about giving up custody. I told him the truth, and he was very angry with her son, but more angry with my wife. He respected me enough to not push it further when I told him to sort it out with my wife. We are in the middle of a shoot storm, and I am not budging. I can't stay in the same house as her children. I am getting bombarded by phone calls of people blaming me for making my wife abandon her children, but what other choice do I have? I can't risk going back now. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, I believe one false accusation could have been resolved and worked through as a family. Not the idiot, though, for choosing the different option to remove yourself. Not only is it reasonable risk management, this should give her more time to devote to working through her son's issues with professional help and not having conflicting loyalties, which could hinder her ability to view things objectively. She has to learn not to resent him for it, though. Comment 2, not the idiot. And I personally would be exiting the relationship no matter what. I wouldn't want to date a parent who would abandon their kids for me. The son clearly needs help and support he doesn't seem to be getting, or he wouldn't have said what he did. And you need to keep not only yourself, but your daughter safe. It's unfortunate, but the stakes are just too high for everyone, in my opinion. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a week since I updated you all, and let me tell you, things have only gotten more intense. So, after my wife started considering giving up custody of her kids, her ex-husband was furious. He couldn't believe she would even think about it. He and I had a long talk, and I explained everything from my perspective. He seemed to understand where I was coming from, but he was still mad, mostly at his son for lying and at my wife for not trusting me. Now, remember how I said my wife's messages were all over the place? Well, she's been sending more, and they're getting desperate. She's been saying things like she can't live without me and that she's willing to do anything to fix this. But I've been firm. I can't go back to that situation. It's just not safe for me or my daughter. Speaking of my daughter, she's been having a tough time with all this. She misses her stepbrother and stepsister, and she doesn't understand why we can't all be a family anymore. It breaks my heart to see her like this, but I have to protect her. Now here's where things get really crazy. My wife's daughter, the 8-year-old, came forward and said that her brother, the one who accused me, had actually been hitting her and threatened her to keep quiet. She said she was scared to tell anyone because she didn't want to cause more trouble. But when she saw what was happening to our family, she felt like she had to speak up. This revelation caused a huge confrontation between my wife and her son. She was devastated that he could do something like that to his own sister and that he lied about me. She's been apologizing to me nonstop, saying she should have believed me and her daughter from the start. But here's the thing. My wife's son has been going to therapy for a while now. He's had some anger issues ever since the divorce, and it turns out he's been feeling really jealous of the attention his mom was giving me and my daughter. The therapist thinks that's why he lied about me hitting him. My wife has been trying to get her son more help, but she's also been talking to her ex about the possibility of the kids living with him full-time. She's torn up about it, but she thinks it might be best for everyone. Now, the misunderstanding. My wife's ex-husband called me again, and he was more calm this time. He said he wanted to work things out for the sake of the kids. But then, he mentioned something about me taking my wife back if she gave up custody. I was confused because that's not what I said at all. I never made giving up custody a condition for us getting back together. I had to explain to him that while I do love my wife, the trust between us has been broken. I can't just go back to how things were, even if she doesn't have custody of her kids anymore. It's not about that. It's about feeling safe and secure in my own home. And right now, I don't see how that's possible. The ex-husband seemed to get it after I explained, but he was still upset. He said he never thought my wife would be the type to even consider giving up her kids. I told him that she's just trying to find a way to fix things, but I don't know if there's anything that can be done at this point. So, that's where we are now. My wife is considering giving up custody, her son is in therapy, and her daughter is finally feeling safe enough to tell the truth. And me, I'm just trying to figure out how to move forward and do what's best for my daughter. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.